Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to the Sankirtan movement of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And welcome all the members of the Prabhupada Disciples Association and the Hare Krishna Society, who are gathering together on a weekly basis to hear the philosophy of Krishna consciousness being read and discussed from the unadulterated, unedited books of Srila Prabhupada, which are very important to his legacy. And this is something we always stress and promote amongst all our members to distribute these books when they're available. And we have plans, of course, coming up. In the near future, we'll be introducing them probably on Saturday for the publication, working in cooperation with other God brothers throughout the world who are also of the same disposition to print and publish the unadulterated, unedited books of His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada, because this will protect his legacy, which is vital for a person's advancement in spiritual life. These books are the law books of mankind. And if they're changed, where is the authority to change them? There is none. Because they give insights into the purpose of human life from the deep realizations of a pure devotee who is via transparent medium for the Supreme Lord. And where is the question of spiritual life if one does not understand they're the spirit soul? There is none. Prabhupada was explaining that in a recent class I was listening to this week, that we first must understand that we are spiritually part and parcel of Krishna. And this is found in the Bhagavad Gita as it is, as the first scripture. It's an introductory scripture for us that Prabhupada presented for our benefit. And through careful study of the teachings of Krishna, which is a section of Mahabharata, a short section, it's only a 3-hour approximately conversation between Krishna and Arjuna, gives a fundamental basis for understanding spiritual life and our position as Krishna's servant. Simple. Now further, Prabhupada went ahead, as you know, and he presented Srimad Bhagavatam, which is quite a expansive explanation of the history of the universe and the spiritual world. And it's not chronologically developed, but it is within the context of this a summary study of the history of the universe. We get a deep insight into all the mysteries of life from the lips of a pure devotee. Extraordinary. Prabhupada was very, in fact, he even mentioned, I put as much as I could, I'm paraphrasing, information in the first canto, the Delhi versions that he brought from India on the Jaladuta in those trunks, those beautiful books. And we're quite excited about them. I hope that we have an opportunity to make them available to all of you in the near future. But he said he included a comprehensive understanding of everything in those first 3 volumes of the Delhi Bhagavatams, 62, 64, 65. And then after that, when he was in America, he made it a focal point of his writing to present Chaitanya Charitamrita, which is a very intimate look at the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya, the Yuga avatar, and how he practiced Krishna consciousness himself as a perfect example of renunciation, of complete surrender. And far beyond that, when you read Chaitanya Charitamrita, he reveals the intimate pastimes between Radha and Krishna, which he was there to understand in that Yuga incarnation. So the life of the devotees then, the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan especially, Swarup Damodar, and Ramananda Roy, Haridas Thakur, all these key people along with the 6 Goswamis, and there are many more, of course. You have to read through the Chaitanya Charitamrita to get a deep insight into how to be a devotee. It's a practical example for all of us, and we're very blessed to have these books, this Chaitanya Charitamrita. This is also an original edition, unedited edition. We're very blessed to have this ability to read these books and get the deepest insight available to a soul in this universe through the transcendental mercy of A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. This is amazing, truly amazing for this opportunity in this time and space. Yes, it's truly amazing. And we're very fortunate that we are able to do this in these Zoom presentations that we've been producing for the last couple of years. And we have hundreds of them. And we also have approaching 17,000 people in the Prabhupada Disciples Association Facebook group who are also very interested in learning the truth of the matter on how to receive this knowledge from the lips of a pure devotee and no other person who is pretending or posing or posturing as a so-called guru in our disciplic succession. Very fortunate. And so we hope that all of you appreciate this. I know you do. That's why you're coming on a regular basis. And despite all the difficulty that we are enduring and dealing with this, at the same time, we will carry on and make this our life's mission, all of us in this group, and support this effort as much as you can from wherever you are. Because Prabhupada went through a lot of austerities to get this movement going. And here we're going to go to the diaries of Srila Prabhupada back in time to 1966. Now, I'm noticing here when I'm reading this that it appears that Prabhupada is gradually shifting away from the diary, as I can see coming to the end of it, and he's basically focused on the many important tasks that were unfolding by Krishna's mercy and his Guru's mercy as the movement started to expand. So he was, I call it, it's a work in progress. Work in progress is different than a business plan or a written plan. In other words, a lot of entrepreneurs, they don't write a plan out. They start the work, they manifest the work, and they work the work. And then it expands, and then they become who they are in the material society. So work in progress. So that it appears that Prabhupada is moving forward with work in progress. And it's unfolding because of the number of disciples that he started to initiate and the expansions that he implemented immediately, going to San Francisco and Montreal, and then subsequently to England. So he was working forward with it and then continuing to write and preach and present classes. So it just became ongoing, his explosion, as Hari Griva called it, the Hare Krishna explosion. So we're coming to this critical point right now in July 1966. And here's the 26 Second Avenue summary. July 1st marks the day Srila Prabhupada takes possession of the storefront and one of the rear apartments at 26 Second Avenue. He immediately conducts regular classes. Mr. Goldsmith finalizes the incorporation of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Entries in this section are abbreviated as compared with the previous sections. This perhaps results from Prabhupada being absorbed with the active beginnings of this movement. Very interesting. I hadn't read this, so it's quite an interesting collaboration here. These events are elaborately discussed in other books. Accurately or inaccurately, I'm not sure, but we do have a review by Yashodananda on that if anyone's interested in receiving it. On July 15th, Srila Prabhupada trains one of his followers to keep the accounts, and until the end of August, when Srila Prabhupada resumes this practice. Notable occurrences are the initiation of Brahmananda, Achutananda, Satsrup, and Kirtananda, the purchase of the first two mimeograph machines, and subsequent publication of the first Western edition of Back to Godhead, the beginning of Srila Prabhupada's relationship with Allen Ginsberg, and the hiring of Judson Hall to hold a lecture program. And by the way, the Back to Godhead magazine, which unfortunately has more or less disappeared, Prabhupada called it the backbone of our movement. And at one time, Prabhus, for some of the new people, we used to sell over 500,000 copies of Back to Godhead in 1 month. And now it's gone away for all practical purposes. Unfortunate, very, very unfortunate, considering its position and how it evolved under Prabhupada's jurisdiction, personal supervision. There are problems with the immigration authorities after they refused to renew Srila Prabhupada's visa because he had been in the U.S. for more than 1 year. On September 27th, a collection is held to defray the legal costs, and Allen Ginsberg donates $100. Srila Prabhupada still wants to acquire a large building for a temple and preaching purposes. On October 31st, there is a $1,300 donation, to the building fund by Brahmananda And the November accounts section, see page 206, shows a loan for $5,000 from a donor named Jonathan, a friend of Rabindra Swarup Das, on November 1st. So, little summary of how things are bubbling up. The volcano is, Dasa Avatar is getting ready to erupt. And we want that to continue on in 2024, everyone. Please. July to November highlights. We're just going to read the July highlights today. On the 1st, today I entered the new house at 26 2nd Avenue, room number 1B. In the evening, there was a meeting in the new store. In the evening meeting, there were 8 men. Collection was $5.50 and book collection was $4. So the first program got $5.50. And it sure went big to hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars. I've got a pastime about that I'll share in the future. In the meeting at 26 2nd Street store, it is settled that the society shall be incorporated and the name shall be International Society for Krishna Consciousness. 11 trustees were agreed. On the 7th, I saw Mr. Goldsmith. He is paid $10. The papers of the meeting were handed over to him. The society shall be registered by the next week. He says everything is all right. On the 8th, there was about 20 men attended. It is encouraging. The collection was $15. I guess these people didn't have much money. One boy, Gerard, was very much interested in the 9th in the Sanskrit class. Mrs. Carroll paid $5. So I put up a couple of pictures for us to look at moving forward here. Look at this beautiful picture. And this is, of course, Prabhupada as the movement was starting to explode and he expanded into LA. There's Kurandar to the left of, or however, yeah, to the left of him. And look at how ecstatic the Matajis are and happy and blissful. And there's Prabhupada walking. Imagine how he's, Dasa Avatar, how he is feeling as he sees the movement unfolding after years and years of austerity. Remember, he was kicked out of the Gaudiya Math in the 50s. He was asked to leave. So he had no support from his godbrothers, no support from his family. He almost died of heart attacks on the boat. Here he ends up here, and look at him. This must be the early 70s in Los Angeles. And look at how fast it's going to go. And then next picture, Prabhu, please. And look at that. Now, I was there for that picture. I think I might have took one of these pictures. That's Prabhupada in Mayapur Dham, and he's out for a walk. This could be 73. Yashoda might know better. That devotee on the right, I know him, but his face, but I don't know his name. But nonetheless, here was Prabhupada. He had made by 72, 73, actually even earlier than that, he made a triumphant return to India to demonstrate to everybody how his preaching work was spreading globally. So exciting for all of us to be a part of this. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and the Sankirtan movement of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. We'll move forward now with the reading and discussion with Yashoda Nandana Prabhu after we hear the chanting of Jaya Radha Madhava by His Divine Grace. Haribol.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunj Bihari Jashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Banachari Jamuna Tira Banachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunj Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Banachari Yamuna Tira Banachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunj Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunj Bihari Jai Amaswa Paramahansa Paribhrajagacharya Sattvaresvara Samadhati Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava ki Jai Ramacharya Shri Haridas Thakur ki Jai Prem se kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Mokh Gopinath Sam Khand Radha Khand Girivardhan ki Jai Vrindavan Dham ki Jai Navadvip Dham ki Jai Ganga Mai ki Jai Jamuna Mai ki Jai Guru Dwarka Dham ki Jai Samaveta Bhaktivinoda ki Jai All glories to the Assemblage. All glories to the Assemblage. Thank you very much.
All glories to you, Srila Prabhupada. Glories to you, Prabhupada.
I'm not able to hear you, Prabhu.
Can you hear now?
Yes.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. O my Lord Sri Krishna, the son of Vasudeva, the all-pervading personality of Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. From Srimad Bhagavatam 1:1:1. Narayanam namaskritya. Narayanam namaskritya. Naram cheva narottamam. Naram cheva narottamam. Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudirayat Tato Jayam Mudirayat. One should utter the means of conquest, Srimad Bhagavatam or Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, after offering respectful obeisances, 1, to the personality of Godhead, Narayana, 2, to the Nara-Narayana Rishi, who is the supermost human being, 3, to the Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, then 4, to Srila Vyasadeva, the author, from Srimad Bhagavatam 1-4. Welcome everyone to this reading and discussion on Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. As we do every week, we will read a few selected verses from the Adi Lila of Chaitanya Charitamrita, chapter 1, which describes the meaning and the effect, the benefit of hearing this great, powerful, transcendental literature. This is from Adi Lila, the chapter 1, text number 18. Jai Jai Sri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda Jai Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaur Bhakta Brinda. Glory to Sri Chaitanya and Nityananda. Glory to Advaita Chandra, and glory to all the devotees of Sri Gaura, Lord Chaitanya. Text number 19. 18 Thakur Gaudiya ke karye chenay atmasat. 18 era charana vandan tire morenat. These three deities of Vrindavana, Madan Mohan, Govinda, and Gopinatha, have absorbed the heart and soul of the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, followers of Lord Chaitanya. I worship their lotus feet, for they are the lords of my heart. Try to get this phone here. Text number 20. Granteraram Vikari Mangala Charana Guru Vaishnav Bhagavan Tinera Smarana. In the beginning of this narration, simply by remembering the spiritual master, the devotees of the Lord, and the personality of Godhead, I have invoked their benedictions. Text number 21. Tinera Smarane Vigna Vinashana Anayasai Nijavan Chita Purana. Such remembrance destroys all difficulties and very easily enables one to fulfill his own desires. Text number 22. Simangala Charanoi Trivida Prakar Vastu Nirdesha Shirvada Namaskara. The invocation involved 3 processes: defining the objective, offering benedictions, and offering obeisances. So again, welcome everyone to this very auspicious reading of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. Today we will be reading from Adi Lila chapter 4, text number 208, I believe. No, 216. Treloke pritivi dhanya. Treloke pritivi dhanya. Yatra vrindavanam puri. Yatra vrindavanam puri. Tatrapi gopikaha partha. Tatrapi gopikaha partha. Yatra radha bhida mama. Yatra radha bhidam mama. Treloki. In the 3 worlds. Prithvi, the earth. Danya, fortunate. Yatra, where? Vrindavanam, Vrindavana. Puri, the town. Tatra, there. Api, certainly. Gopikaha, the gopis. Partha, O Arjuna. Yatra, where? Radha, Srimati Radharani. Abhidha, name. Mama, my. Translation, O Partha, in all the three planetary systems, this earth is especially fortunate, for on earth is the town of Vrindavana, and there the gopis are especially glorious, because among them is my Srimati Radharani. Purport. This verse, spoken by Lord Krishna to Arjuna, is cited from the Adi Purana. Text number 217. Radha saha kridarasa vriddhirakaran, arsaba gopigan rasopakaran, Radha saha with Srimati Radharani, krida pastimes, rasa of mellow, vriddhira of the increase, karana the cause, ara the udder, saba all, Gopigana, gopis, rasa upakarana, accessories of mellow. Translation. All the other gopis help increase the joy of Krishna's pastimes with Radharani. The gopis act as the instrument of their mutual enjoyment. Purport. It is said that the gopis are divided into 5 groups, namely the Sakis, Nitya Sakis, Prana Sakis, Priya Sakis, and Paramaprishta Sakis. All these fair complexion associates of Srimati Radharani, the queen of Vrindavana Dhama, are expert artists in evoking erotic sentiments in Krishna. The Paramaprishta Sakis are 8 in number, and in the ecstatic dealings of Krishna and Radha, they side sometimes with Krishna and at other times with Radharani, just to create a situation in which it appears that they favor one against the other. That makes the exchange of mellows more palatable. Just want to mention that all of these readings, all the synonyms, translations, and purports are from His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, founder Acharya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, also known as the Krishna Consciousness Movement. Text 218. Krishner Vallabharada Krishna Pranodhan Tanhavinu Shuka Etu Nahe Gopigan Krishnera of Lord Krishna, Vallabha beloved, Radha Srimati Radharani, Krishna Pranadhan, the wealth of the life of Lord Krishna, Tanha her, Vinu without, Sukha hetu cause of happiness, Nahe are not, Gopigana the gopis. Translation. Radha is the beloved consort of Krishna, and she's the wealth of his life. Without her, the gopis cannot give him pleasure. Text 219. Kamsari rapi samsara vasana bhadasring kalam radham madhaya hridaye Tatyaja Vrajasundari Kamsa Arihi, Lord Krishna, the enemy of Kamsa. Api, moreover, Samsara, for the essence of enjoyment, Rasa Lila. Vasana, by the desire, Baddha, tied on. Shrinkalam, who was like the chains. Radham Srimati Radharani, Adhaya taking, Hridaye in the heart, Tatyaja left aside, Vrajasundari, the other gopis. Translation: Lord Krishna, the enemy of Kamsa, left aside the other gopis during the rasa dance and took Srimati Radharani to his heart, for she is the helper of the Lord in realizing the essence of his desires. Purport: in this verse from the Gita Govinda 3:1, Jayadeva Goswami describes Sri Krishna's leaving the Rasa Leela to search for Srimati Radharani. Text 220. Siradhara Bhavalana Chaitanya Avatar Yuga Dharma Nama Prema Koila Parochar. Say that Radhara of Srimati Radharani, Bhava the emotion, Lan taking, Chaitanya of Lord Chaitanya, Avatara the incarnation, Yuga Dharma the religion of the age, Nama Prema the holy name and love of Godhead, Koila did, Parachara preaching. Translation: Lord Chaitanya appeared with the sentiment of Radha. He preached the Dharma of this age, the chanting of the holy name and pure love of God. Purport. Oh, no purport. Text 221. Sebave nijavancha karila puran, avatarira evancha mulakarana. Say that. Bhave in the mood. Nijavancha is on desires. Karila did. Purana fulfilling. Avatarera of the incarnation. This. Vancha desire. Mula root. Karana cause. Translation: in the mood of Srimati Radharani, he also fulfilled his own desires. This is the principal reason for his appearance. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashatya Deshatarine Bhakti Siddhanta Shishyaya Bhakti Vedanta Namine Prasannaya Prashantaya Tasmai Shigurave Namaha Bhagavad Vandanam Khadhyam Guru Vandana Purvakam Kshiram Sharkara Yuktam Kadati Visheshata Adadana Srinam Danter Idam Yachi Punaha Punaha Srimadurupa Padam Bhoja Dhulishyam Janma Janmani Amsho Bhagavatu Smyaham Sadadasu Asmi Sarvatam Tatkripa Pikshako Nityam Tat Preshta Shatkaromi Svam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrindam Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. In the Prabhupada Conversation book, there is a very interesting conversation where Srila Prabhupada is discussing about the gopis and Krishna and the sahajiyas, people who take things very cheaply. What happened is Srila Prabhupada was talking about in Jagannath Puri how he had an experience, how one lawyer or judge related a story to him, to Srila Prabhupada, how his wife had her garment snatched by Lord Jagannath. And when Prabhupada was relating the story, he mentioned, just see, sahajiyas will come out of so many people. And then as part of that conversation, Prabhupada quoted his own Guru Maharaj, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada, who once stated, when our men will become sahajiya, they will become more dangerous. Now, this is a very important point, because we have seen some people trying to bring a shortcut to the actual process of bhakti that has been given by the Acharya. They want to invent a new process, an easy process. And what they do is they really confuse the honest practitioners. During the Nectar of Devotion lectures in October, November of 1972 in Vrindavan at the Radha Damodar temple, Srila Prabhupada a few times was quoting this verse from the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Shruti Smriti Puranadi Pancharatra Vidim Vina Ekantiki Harer Bhaktir Utpatayeva Kalpate. That unless the practice of bhakti follows the Shruti, the Smriti, the Pancharatra, then it will, unless somebody follows these scriptural injunctions, as well as the instructions of the acharyas, then that so-called bhakti will become utpat. Utpat means disturbance. That so-called bhakti will create a disturbance in human society and also in devotional society. And we have seen practically this in our lifetime, especially also during the manifested presence of Srila Prabhupada, and afterwards also, certain individuals and other advisors claiming that they were dispensing the real teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and that Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, whom they referred to as Swami Maharaj, which we find very offensive, by the way, but that's how he was known in the various neo-mats, that Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada just presented the basis, and they were going to present the real understanding, the higher understanding, the secret understanding, the special Rasika Bhakti, the advanced. The problem with that is one cannot insult or minimize the authoritative acharya like Srila Prabhupada and hope to get a good result. That is offensive. We see in the Srimad Bhagavatam, when Shukadev Goswami came in the assembly of all the great sages and rishis and great personalities that had assembled to see the event that Maharaj Parikshit had sat down on the bank of the Ganges and was going to fast for 7 days till death, so many great personalities came there, even from higher planets. Great rishis, great sages, various demigods, Narada Muni, Vyasadeva, Devala, Ashishta, Atri, Parashuram, so many great personalities. The 7 great sages who live in the higher planets, so many great, very powerful personalities came there. And in one purport, Prabhupada explains that when Shukadev Goswami came in that assembly, it was like the moon had come out. The effulgent moon had come out, and Prabhupada mentions in one purport, one should never minimize a personality like Shukadev Goswami, a pure devotee like Shukadev Goswami. Similarly, no one should minimize the position of a pure devotee and liberated acharya. For those of you who have carefully studied Srimad Bhagavatam, we know that in one purport, in the 6th or 7th canto, Prabhupada mentions that one should stop thinking the spiritual master an ordinary man. Now, why is Prabhupada mentioning that? Because that was around 1975, 1976 that he wrote this. Because Prabhupada could perceive that some of his students, some of his followers were started to think that he was behaving like an ordinary man. They did not understand. A little while ago, Vishwakarma Prabhu mentioned, and he quoted a very famous saying, that familiarity breeds contempt. One should never become over-familiar with the acharya, with the bona fide, powerful, authorized acharya. No one should find fault. In Vrindavan, one Goswami came to see Srila Prabhupada, Atul Krishna Goswami, and he brought to Srila Prabhupada's attention that so many people are very envious upon you. And Prabhupada's reply was, well, if you can do what I've done, produce so many books, produce so many disciples, preach all over the world, then you can become envious. Prabhupada said, there's a standard amongst Vaishnavas. If one is superior, you should be respectful. If one is equal, you should make friendship. If one is lesser, you should help him. But one should not become envious. We've often discussed the shloka from the Uddhava Gita in the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, where Lord Krishna is telling Uddhava, Namartya buddhya suyeta. One should never think the bona fide acharya to be an ordinary man. One should not be envious of the acharya. And the problem we see with many so-called followers or pseudo-followers is they become envious and start to find fault with the acharya. Oh, Prabhupada said this, Prabhupada said that. Oh, Prabhupada made statements that don't correspond to the normal understanding or the current understanding that we see prevalent among scholars or regular society, the woke crowd. But we have to remember where Prabhupada got all these ideas from the Srimad Bhagavatam, from the Bhagavad Gita, from the teachings and purports of the great acharyas. So one should be very careful in dealing with the acharya and his teachings. If one does not understand, one should read it again. In 1970 in Los Angeles, when the Nectar of Devotion first came out, some devotees brought to Prabhupada's attention that this book seems difficult to understand, especially in the later portions of the book. As we know, the Nectar of Devotion is a translation of the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, which was compiled by Rupa Goswami, the foremost acharya of the Gaudiya Sampradaya. And it has many very deep explanation of the science of bhakti, very systematic explanation and presentation of the science of bhakti. So if one wants to launch some criticisms of Prabhupada, claiming that he has not presented bhakti systematically or scholarly, whatever nonsense they want to say. They have to read the Nectar of Devotion and understand. When devotees brought this up to Srila Prabhupada, that this book seems difficult, and Prabhupada said, well, then you read it again. So devotees say, well, what if we read it again and still don't understand? Prabhupada says, to read it again and again, then eventually you will understand. So in other words, this is not just a simple academic or scholarly exercise. No, it is also revealed to one who becomes a devotee and is sincere, who has firm faith in the Acharya and Krishna. Then it can be revealed. Otherwise, one is sure to misunderstand. No matter the level of scholarship or the matter of so-called academic achievements, that is not qualification. The qualification is to be a devotee and the sincere desire to serve. Then it will be revealed. We see in the Bhagavad Gita, where Prabhupada explains that chapter 10, text number 8, 9, 10, and 11 are the 4 essential verses in the Bhagavad Gita. These verses describe what is the relationship between Krishna and his devotees. How does Krishna reciprocate with his devotees? Now, it is not complicated. It is not difficult. But one has to develop a taste for hearing. This is very important. Prabhupada many times would emphasize that Krishna consciousness does not depend on knowledge of Sanskrit or Bengali or any language. It is simply the sincerity, the desire to serve Krishna under the direction of the bona fide Acharya. Because we see a tendency, again, I'm very new to the whole process of Facebook, and there's many features there that I'm not quite familiar with. But I see certain persons who are very eager to gossip, to fabricate, to invent and manufacture nonsensical things because they have a platform where they can speak. No one is restricting them. But sometimes they go beyond the proper behavior of a devotee. They will go and insult, fabricate things, invent things, so many nonsensical, offensive statements because they have a platform. So one has to use his intelligence and not fall into the trap of what Rupa Goswami called prajalpa niyamagraha. One of the 6 things that destroys bhakti is this gossip tendency, nonsense talk, inventing, fabricating, accusing other devotees. So many nonsense things go on under the guise of so-called free speech. Well, you may exercise your free speech as much as you like, but if you insult other devotees, then you will have to pay a price. Now, Facebook may not exact a price from you because they give everybody a chance, especially in the United States of America, to speak. Oh, that's very nice. But a person should utilize his intelligence and understand the teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. One should not insult another Vaishnava or fabricate things about another Vaishnava because there will be consequences. We see things every day. People would manufacture some nonsense. They say, oh, what does the other person have to say? It's just like Prabhupada said. It's one thing to talk and manufacture things, but this is not the behavior of a Vaishnava, of an aspiring Vaishnava or any Vaishnava. But we see this tendency. Some of them are very outspoken, very offensive in their comments. We've seen this. But we should learn from the teachings of Lord Chaitanya. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Chaitanya Bhagavata, There are so many warnings that have been given. So many warnings that have been given not to insult other Vaishnavas. If somebody has a genuine difference, a philosophical difference, that's fine. That can be discussed. Devotees can discuss things in a civilized, cool-headed way. But the problem we see is people take it to the extreme. And we've seen this practically. We still see this today. The tendency for banning, beating, suing, all kinds of nonsensical behavior. Devotees should recognize this and not fall prey to this nonsense. Devotees should be very careful. Hare Krishna. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Haribol.
All glories to you, Yashodanandana Prabhu, for sharing your insights, very meaningful insights to all of us today on this reading and discussion of Chaitanya Charitamrita. And I thought it was very interesting when you discussed about Sahajiism and how that can infiltrate into this movement. And when the Sahajiism becomes part of the society, then it would be very destructive in helping people become Krishna conscious. And this was the case in the situation with the members of the Gaudiya Math. And I've talked about this before. Someone said, well, you repeated this before. Well, there's only so many pastimes that you have in terms of your history in Krishna consciousness. That's it. What are you going to make up photos and pictures? And there are pictures, there are photos, there are experiences. And we share them with others, especially some of you who weren't blessed with the opportunity to be with us in the early days. The blessing, of course, is still here with all of us. So it doesn't make really any difference in one sense, because Prabhupada lives on in his Vani incarnation and with his bona fide disciples. But going back to the story, it was a story, Yashodanandana Prabhu, about Ban Maharaj. And as you know, Ban Maharaj had gone to England prior to Srila Prabhupada's journey to America under the order of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada to spread Krishna consciousness in England. And unfortunately, he failed. We won't go into that right now. And he went back to India and took up residence. I believe it was in Vrindavan. And at that time, he wrote a version of Nectar of Devotion. It was a blue book. In fact, it's funny, back in Hamilton in the 70s, 71, somehow or other, we had a copy of it. I don't know how we got it, but back then we had no idea of the relationship between Prabhupada and his godbrothers. None whatsoever. In fact, we were excited to know that Prabhupada simply had godbrothers. That was as simple as it was. We had no idea. And then in 1974, I believe, Ban Maharaj came to Toronto on the invitation, 75, came to Toronto on the invitation of Professor Joseph O'Connell, who is the associate professor of Vaishnavism at the university there. And he was an academic scholar and a friend of ours. We had spoken at his classes periodically. So he invited us to come over and meet Ban Maharaj. And I went with my godbrother, Uttama Shloka, and myself, went to meet Ban Maharaj at Professor O'Connell's house. Wow. It was like, whoa. We were getting a chance to meet a Prabhupada godbrother, our Prabhupada's godbrother. So it was very exciting for us. And when we went and saw him, we had a wonderful meeting and discussion, and he was so enlightening. Remember, we were somewhat naive, let's put it that way, and very inexperienced, but at the same time, excited to meet him. And we invited him to come to the Toronto Temple and speak in front of the deities without seeking permission from anyone else, except we just thought this would be a great thing. And when he came for the Sunday feast and he gave the lecture, we were all sitting in the temple room. And what he did was he started to exhibit symptoms of prema bhakti in front of Radha Gopinath and break down and started shedding tears of ecstasy. Oh. So we were smart enough back then at the time to get up and walk out of the temple room because we realized that this was sahaja. Very, very bad. To pretend that you are a prema bhakti when you're not. And this went on, and we know the situation with the Gaudiya Math and Srila Prabhupada. Now we know about it, where there's all these letters that were sent to Rupanuga and other devotees, and a letter sent to me personally. And it's recorded online, you can look it up, where Prabhupada, first he had Satsrup get in touch with me when he found out that Ban Maharaj had come to the temple, and they asked us all kinds of questions. Did he have tilak on? Was he wearing neck beads? Did he have a danda? Did he have japa beads? Was he wearing a dhoti? And we gave all the answers. He had no neck beads. He had no sika. His head was completely shaven like a Mayavadi. He had no danda. We didn't see any japa beads, yet he's sitting in front of the deities demonstrating this prema bhakti crying. Okay. So Prabhupada sent a letter to me, and he said, this is for all of my disciples. Do not associate with my godbrothers in the Gaudiya Math. Do not. Now, there was a reason. And the reason was, and you can read about it later as you search online, everyone. You can read the letter to Rupanuga. I think it was in 1972, Yashoda, was it? Or 74?
74. 28th of April, 1974.
Yeah. So that's a very informative letter, and Yashoda, he was going to comment further on it. But very informative information. And then when you read these purports, especially in Chaitanya Charitamrita, you're going to see how Prabhupada is revealing this problem of sahajiism that took place amongst his godbrothers. In fact, I posted this lecture 2 weeks ago in regards to that, and I recommended it. It's in October 22nd, 1972, in Vrindavan, India. October 22nd, 1972. And Prabhupada is discussing the philosophy in detail. And he goes through so many points. I've mentioned in our post on Facebook, just listen to this one lecture. The whole philosophy is in it. And he, at the end, he talks about Guru Tattva, and he discusses about knowing Krishna. And it's only possible through the bona fide spiritual master. And he says, and the disciple is responsible for repeating exactly the words of his spiritual master. Not sort of, exactly. And he goes, and a great movement was destroyed. And he's referring to the Gaudiya Math, which had 60 temples, due to the whimsical behavior of his godbrothers. Destroyed. And this is going on in the ISKCON movement. It has been destroyed by sahajiya behavior. Totally. This week I saw a lecture of some devotee from the West Coast who's a guru out of the 150 gurus, and he's speaking. He's concocting philosophy. I wrote him, you should avoid mental concoction. This is not good, misleading. It's not repeating Prabhupada's philosophy, it's manufacturing it on the spot. And this seems to be the business. I also sent out another video of a fellow that used to be in New Vrindavan that I sent to Krishna Katha, who's in India now building hospitals and all kinds of other things that Prabhupada never really approved of. And he pretends that he's like Lord Chaitanya, and when he speaks, it's pure Mayavadi mental speculation for the astute devotee. It's pathetic. So this Sahajiism has entered into this society that Prabhupada created. He warned us about the Gaudiya Math. He told us what would happen. And now ISKCON has become Gaudiya Math Part 2. Let's deal with it. Yashodanandana, please.
Well, these are very important instructions. And the problem we have is that they fall on deaf ears many times.
Yes.
And there's all different kinds of excuses. Or Prabhupada wrote this letter. Prabhupada was friendly with so-and-so. Prabhupada one time stayed with such and such Maharaj. Prabhupada was very, very gracious to his godbrother. Yes, all of these things are true. Prabhupada was very friendly to all kinds of people. He was especially empowered, and he warned his disciples, especially the senior disciples, to not make the same mistake as the Gaudiya Math, because he did not want that institution to ruin his preaching. The exact text of that lecture in 1972 is on October 22nd, 1972. This is a Srimad Bhagavatam class on Canto 1, Chapter 2, Text 11. On October 22nd, 1972, Prabhupada says, if you somehow or other can draw little attention of Krishna, then your life is successful immediately. And how you can draw? Bhaktyamam abhijanati, Bhagavad Gita 1855. Simply by serving Krishna. Take to service of Krishna as it is ordered by the spiritual master, because spiritual master is the representative of Krishna. We cannot approach Krishna directly. Yasya prasadat bhagavat prasadaha. If you have bona fide spiritual master, representative of Krishna, it is also not very difficult. Everyone can become representative of Krishna. How? If you simply carry the message of Krishna without any adulteration, that's all. Just like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Amaragnya Guruhan, Chaitanya Charitamrita 7:128. You become a spiritual master under my order. So if you carry out the order of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Krishna, then you become Guru, Amaragnya Guruhan. Unfortunately, we do not wish to carry out order of the Acharyas. We manufacture our own ways. We've got practical experience. Our great institution was lost by whimsical ways. Without carrying out the order of the spiritual master, they manufactured something and the whole thing was lost. Therefore, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur stresses very much on the words of the spiritual master. Vyavasayatmika buddhir ekeha kurunandanaha. Bhagavad Gita 2:41. If you stick to the order of spiritual master, then without caring for your own convenience or inconvenience, then you become perfect. Very important instruction from Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.
It's there in black and white. As simple as that, but difficult for the crooked and those who are compromised by personal ambition. Yes. You can repeat the philosophy. Absolutely. You just memorize the verses, You can memorize the purports. You can say Prabhupada said this, Prabhupada said that. But what is your motive behind it? If it's for personal ambition, if it's for money, if you're in the business, Prabhupada talked about that. We cannot make trade with Krishna. I'll preach for you, but send me money. When you do that, it becomes adulterated. So it's up to the individual devotee who has a capacity for understanding this philosophy. People think also, it's interesting to note, I've read the books. Oh yeah, okay. But what service have you done? Well, I'm working on it. Oh, you're working on it. Okay. Without practical association with devotees, without service, what is your vijnanam? What is your realization? You can think in your mind, oh, I'm so smart, I'm so brilliant. But without surrender, there will be no realization. And surrender is a very deep word. Surrender means, in the case of our movement, everything. You surrender everything. Back in the 60s and 70s, Yashoda, you recall, devotees that were really surrendered came into the temple and gave everything to Krishna, everything to Prabhupada without condition. And they referred to everybody as Prabhu. Prabhupada said there must be respect. In a lecture in New Vrindavan, he even mentioned Kirtananda in that term. He said, and you must offer respect, like even though he is my disciple, Kirtanananda Swami, you refer to him as Prabhu. Of course, we know that history, so we won't discuss that now. But the point is, yes, the term Prabhu, what does it mean? What does it mean? It means master. So every devotee that is in this process of devotional service has to have that mentality. There's no compromise. If you don't, it's a sign of contamination. And that contamination, that individual devotee has to work on to remove it from his character. His character. This is a valuable experience that we all learned when we lived in the temples, Krishna Katha, as you remember. People would always make an effort. Back then, it was an effort. Nowadays, it's more, like you said, Yashoda, it's an internet world. You know, we're associating like this. People are reading the books. What is the depth of their understanding? Well, we pray that everyone is grasping the essence of what we're doing, which is to protect Prabhupada's legacy and ride this ship of deliverance for the human society moving on. We have a great mission, and we request everyone to join us and be supportive members. Be supportive members. We have been around. This isn't the first circus we've been in. How about that? Not the first circus. I'm going to ask our friend Garuda Prabhu, maybe he could make a comment on today's verse.
My pranams to all here. I came late because I was engaged in another seva, but I frantically came on at this late time. But, you know, what you've been saying, Vishwakarma-ji and your Shodanandana-ji, about really following strictly, that allows us to be instruments. And that feels so good when we're preaching and we're teaching and we're connecting with other persons and giving them the gifts that Prabhupada came to give. Prabhupada, translated Chaitya Guru, or he describes Chaitya Guru, the guru within, as conscience. The fact is, Vishwakarma, I don't know if you'd agree with me, but I think when devotees are not really doing the right thing, like the devotee you spoke with, I think they know it. I think they know it. I think they feel it. I think it's in their conscience, and there's something that's speaking to us from within our hearts. Prabhupada is speaking to us inside and outside of us. All we have to do is listen and follow. So I was saying in the chat, a sadhu sangha, the kind of association we have here, is perfect for keeping us on track. Why do you think I come? I don't want to go off track.
Thank you.
So that's why I'm here. And I thank you all for keeping me on track, especially Yashodanandana Ji and your wonderful discourses, and Vishwakarma, your very appropriate critiques of the fallibility that we can exhibit at times. Yeah. So my pranams.
Thank you. And on our panel today, we have Krishna Kata, who's also in California and lots of experience in Krishna consciousness.
Hare Krishna, Vishwakarma.
Over 40 years.
Hare Krishna. And Garuda, Prabhu, thank you for coming on. Such great panel. And regarding the verses, they're of a extremely high level of
Yes.
bhakti service to Krishna himself through those pastimes. So I really don't feel that I should soil by any comments to that. However, I did pick up on some nectar drops from Yashoda. It's a fact that we, not necessarily anyone on this panel, but we have the tendency to minimize Prabhupada. And this is what's evident in the fact that somehow or other, the subtle ego falsely thinks that I can be on that platform. The Mahabhagavat is one chain in the link. There's not several links. It's just one more, right? So this Sahajaism,
Yes.
in so many forms, that, some of them are leaving because suddenly they're found out, right? They're renouncing their connection to this wonderful, pure movement that is ISKCON. Whatever contamination is currently perceived and experienced in it, it is a temporary manifestation of Maya. The pure movement will move on, unchecked. This is a fact. And those that want to be, like Yashoda said, or actually it was you that said, this perfect ship that is always headed back home, back to Godhead, and Prabhupada is our captain. Those that want to be on that ship, they know what to do. Just like Garuda mentioned, if someone is broadcasting a narrative that they know in their mind and in their heart is off track, because they're still attached to whatever they've gained thus far, they will continue that bogus narrative because of that attachment. They won't come to, how do you say, what's the modern term? Come to Jesus moment. They won't have an epiphany because that attachment is there. There's still that cord of, I've gathered all these followers. I've taken on this project and I'm so attached to it that even though I don't really study Srila Prabhupada's books anymore, people are still listening to me. And it seems to be working. And that's a form of Sahajaism. That's a form of the false ego tricking itself into saying, I'm advanced. And omitting any last thread of humility. It's just gone. And this is what we see. And so I appreciate, like Garuda said, you yourself, Vishwa, and Yashoda have literally brought Prabhupada back to all of us. You are the representative of his divine grace. I cannot tell you how much that is true for everyone listening. Not just for me, but everyone that tunes in knows, because they are hearing again the truth. And it's potent, right?
Yeah.
The soul, the Jiva soul knows when the truth is being spoken, and they're drawn in. I am drawn into these classes because I know it's Prabhupada speaking through you.
Mm.
This is how I'm attracted. Just like I was when I first got my first book. I was an inquisitive college student, and all of a sudden, everything I had read in college was nonsense compared to this Sri Ishopanishad. I was like, wow, that's heavy, you know? So thank you all for letting me speak, but this is just my tiny realization, and you guys always enlighten me again and again. Thank you so much.
Well, you know,
I echo Krishna Katha's beautiful words here.
thank you.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Guruji. Haribo.
One thing is, there's something special about association with devotees.
Yeah.
And this is the idea when we come together to discuss these topics, and all of our members get a chance to hear or speak. I mean, whether you're speaking or listening, it's the same. There is an ecstasy in this.
Oh, yes.
Someone had mentioned, oh, well, I don't find the classes very interesting. Well, I can understand that. Everybody has an opinion. But personally, and for hundreds of other people that we've spoken to, they find a taste of nectar in representing Prabhupada's philosophy without adulteration. And that's
Yes.
what we're doing. We're not interested in money. We're not interested in position. We're not. We are interested in the truth, and we are interested in enlivening everyone to stick to the process. So at the end of time, when you finish this body, you'll go back home, back to Godhead. Janis Priya, our wonderful devotee of many, many years in Hawaii, lots of experience. And by the way, Janis Priya, your pastimes on Sunday in regards to Jayananda Prabhu moved both Krishna Katha and myself to some very interesting emotions. Janis Priya, please. He's trying to get his microphone to work because he's got his hand up. That's who's Jose is. Janis Priya, are you there?
If he just presses the space bar, he can be heard.
Space bar.
Yep, even just the pressing down of the space bar.
Okay. Janis Priya. Okay, so we're not getting connected there. Dharma Bhavana in Dallas, Texas.
Okay,
Yeah,
Hare
there
Krishna.
Haribol.
Okay, I took a few notes today. I
Yes.
thought the class and discussion was as much about the verses in such a meaningful, practical way. And those devotees who can't relate to it or think it's not very interesting, they don't really know the challenges that are there in the world today. And I took a few notes here that mention that the Sahajis want to practice without proper direction and respect for the scripture, the Vaishnavas and the Paramahamsa devotees. And in Christianity, after Jesus Christ was here, there was a person named Paul. And he also preached the same thing, but actually in a different way. He speak differently. So after Prabhupada was here, there were very prominent devotees that became well known. But if someone were to say they're explaining the same philosophy, we say, no, they're actually making a different philosophy. And sometimes I find just like it practically some of the new students, they have a tendency to want to avoid the older devotees and kind of start their own process. combined with some sampradaya, and they don't really like to hear. And there's a great tendency to manufacture new ways. So our discussion today was very, very, like we call current events. It's very, very important. That's all. Thank you.
Yashodanandana, please, if you could give us a final comment.
Well,
We're coming to
put-
the end of the, yeah, go ahead.
trying to, I think some of these discussions are very
Yes.
important, because this discussion is taking place in an atmosphere of mutual respect for all the devotees, even though there may be different understanding, different levels of realizations, different perspective on different topics, especially on how to understand Srila Prabhupada's position and his instruction. It requires that we develop better intelligence, better discrimination, better soberness to analyze these issues. You know, in 1978, when we tried to deal with some of these issues, the mentality immediately was, you're all offenders, you're all envious, you're against ISKCON, you're against Prabhupada, you're this, you're that. And a couple of months later, it got elevated to the point that, hey, with these people, we should kick them out of ISKCON. You know, my disciples, if these people don't stop talking about this, I'll have my disciples kill them. This kind of a feverish, cultish mentality. So very similar to the Jim Jones and Guyana mentality. This cult mentality that you cannot discuss anything, you should just accept. I call it parampara problem. That just accept, don't make waves, just there's no time for discussion. We've already discussed everything. Just and if you push the issue, then you get a wave of nonsensical behavior. But the problem is that mentality is still there with many people. It hasn't changed. It hasn't changed. So devotees, this kind of association is meant to deal with issues, even though it's a certain limited time, but it is meant to address issues that devotees have suppressed for so long. And I know that there's other people attempting to deal with these issues. That's why we hold a whole no-holds-barred policy. People can ask questions or contact us individually. And if somebody has a valid point or something, sure, let's discuss it. But none of this, you know, this, I call it the LJEP mentality, the Living Guru experimental project, that whatever will favor some money-making or institutional policy to carry on with the same mentality, they'll adopt that. Anything that's controversial or not along with their official party line, they'll shut it down. And Garuda Prabhu knows this because he's been in the center of these controversies with regards to all these various changes to Prabhupada's books, whom they very cleverly call editing, but it's more than just editing when you realize the depth of what has taken place. And devotees have finally caught on to this. Devotees are catching on that we don't want the legacy of Srila Prabhupada, such a great personality, to be tarnished by the whimsical behavior of a few individuals. As simple as that. And I'm sure
Can I add one quick footnote?
Sure, go ahead. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Just one quick thing, because I know James Priya's ready to go. I like it earlier, you showed Anandana Ji about when someone says, oh, I've read Prabhupada's books. No, I don't know anyone who's read Prabhupada's books. You know, in grammar, there is the past perfect tense. I start in the past, and I've perfectly read it in the past. Present participle means I'm continuing to hear. I'm always hearing. We never have read Prabhupada's books. We're always hearing Prabhupada's books. I just thought that was a really beautiful point you made. I just wanted to stick that in quickly. It's not the past perfect tense. It's the present participle. We're always participating in the hearing of Prabhupada's books. And that's what I love about this group. We're hearing. We have not... Passages you read, Yashodanandaji, I don't know how many times I've read them. When you read them here, they're new and they're fresh, and I get new realizations. Anyway, sorry to butt in like this.
No, that's okay, Professor. We're very happy to have you with us. And we are going to work forward together with you to continue to present the truth of the matter in regards to the changed books. And if there's any issues that people have, I know I've discussed with Garuda Prabhu and Yashoda Prabhu about clearing them up as a group to make sure that everybody understands that we're all on the same page here. We all have the same purpose, which is to protect Prabhupada's legacy in his unadulterated books. Sure, we may have said this or that. If there's a confusion, we'll straighten it out for you. Garuda is with us, 100%. He's told me many times, Yashoda, Vishva, just tell me what you want me to say. It almost sounds like Prabhupada said to me, and I'll do it. That's what Prabhupada told me. Just tell me what you want me to do, I'll do it. When he was in Toronto, it was like, oh. Jonas Priya, let's finish up the talk with your comments from Hawaii. I see you're there.
Hare Krishna, glories to Srila Prabhupada. Please accept my humble obeisances. Yeah, another wonderful class, and this is the only oasis that I know that I could go and drink the water without any reservation. Why? Because everybody on this oasis, nobody in here is looking for position, recognition, money. We're simply trying to please Srila Prabhupada in whatever our capacity is. And as Yashoda was mentioning on the beginning of the class about people changing Prabhupada's philosophy or thinking, maybe if I present this in a way that is more likable to the audience, then I'll have many followers. So Prabhupada didn't care for numbers of followers. Prabhupada said, all I want is one moon, and he got a few moons. We know Jainanda definitely Prabhupada recognized as the full moon. And we're not trying to improve Prabhupada's message. We're not trying to make it sweeter or more acceptable by the masses and acceptable in 2024, because this message is eternal. It's coming directly from Krishna to Srila Prabhupada. So the closer that we repeat, and Prabhupada said it, parrot-like, what we hear from Srila Prabhupada, then we will know that it will have effect. And Prabhupada said this, he said, you may be all nonsense, but I'm not. And my books are not nonsense. So if you simply repeat what you heard from me, just like I did, I simply repeated what I heard from my spiritual master, then the message will have effect. And that's why we want the original books, because these books, they're not contaminated. And if somebody just touches the book, reads a page, a paragraph, even one word, simply touching the book, simply having that book in a home, that's like a time bomb. It's going to explode and it's going to affect somebody's consciousness. And this is what Prabhupada wants, that somehow, to whatever our ability is, whether it's massive distribution of books, or if you distribute one book in your life, it doesn't matter. It's that you're doing it, and we all need to do it. And if we could not go out and distribute books, then let's support those people who are going out on book distribution by propagating what they're doing, helping them with books. So this is a process that we could all take, and we're very fortunate that we have a group of people that we're trying to push, just like the little ants. When Lord Ramachandra was trying to cross the ocean, even the little ants were putting one little grain, but it counted. So let's keep on doing this, and let's invite somebody to these programs. If we could all invite one person, once a month, once a week, once a year, then this group will grow faster. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Prabhus, all of you. Thank you, all the people that have their hands. We are over time, and we've been requested by our group to try to keep within the 1.5 hour duration. So please save your questions for our Saturday morning class of Bhagavad Gita, and we'll be happy to entertain them then. And Sunday morning Srimad Bhagavatam class. And we thank you all for being a part of this today. And we're going to end up the program with the chanting of Hare Krishna with Srila Prabhupada, and then we'll do the offering of obeisances to each other, and then the close of the show. All glories to the Sankirtan movement of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Let us offer our respectful obeisances to all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord. Vanchakalpa tarubhyascha Kripa sindubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo namo namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances unto all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord who can fulfill the desires of everyone, just like desire trees, and who are full of compassion for the fallen souls. Hare Krishna. Thanks everybody for participating. We look forward to seeing all of you on Saturday morning at 7 o'clock Pacific time, 10 o'clock a.m. Eastern Time. Thanks Garuda Prabhu and everybody else who made comments. Hare Krishna. All glories
Hare
to
Krishna.
Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. Krishna Kata Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Thank you,
Venkat Bhatta
Ishvara.
Prabhu, thank you for managing the program. Very nice. Very nice. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Juta Padakamalam Sri Gurum Vaishnava Vangsha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam
Who's that boy?
Sahagana
Yeah.
Raghunathanitang Tang Sajivam Sadaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya